Hey guys, welcome back to some companions. Today's video, we're going to be breaking down the tier list that we created for this game. And overall, there is going to be one single hero that we are not going to have within the tier list, and that is Mira. Now, of course, with Mira being incredibly new to the companion server as well as the classic server, don't know exactly where she's going to place, don't know if people or when people are going to build her in the entirety, but overall, not seeing a lot of utility within classic. Don't know if that's going to ring true to companions, but let's go ahead and break down this tier list so you can see which heroes to build within this game. All right, guys, so here we have the first companions tier list that we're going to break down, and we're going to start just like we traditionally do. Now, this is from a lot of data, a lot of feedback that I got from people on Reddit and Discord, as well as a couple other places, and I want to really show you the heroes that we're breaking down and the logic and really the reason behind why we're breaking them down as such. Now, of course, very top SSS tier, it is the Awakened version of Solus. When we look entirely at AFK Arena, this hero is being used in every single place when it comes to damage, healing, survivability, PvP, even looking at campaign formations. The Awakened version of Solus is not only incredibly easy to get when you're building up the wilder heroes, the effectiveness of this hero does go really leaps and bounds above any other hero. Now, she is only one of two Awakened heroes that we have in the entirety. And for probably 95-98% of players, it is the only Awakened hero majority of us will have because the requirements for them are very, very high. Now, we also do have Mishka in here. Now, Mishka early game, even later game, because of the ads, because of the wolves, the way that she works, incredibly strong within the game. Again, there's not a lot of game modes that I do not see the hero prevalent in. With the shielding ability, the healing ability, very, very versatile. And then we have Sheltier. Now, interesting enough, in the classic version, Sheltier is being used in PvP. In the Companions version, Sheltier is being used everywhere, especially when it comes to PvP, but also campaign formations, boss formations doing a significant amount of damage. And the big thing with her is the survivability aspect that we're seeing with her, putting her really in that top tier. Now, looking at our SS tier, now there are a few heroes in here, and again, thinking of the classic version of AFK Arena and the utility that we had, the original version of Taylene, I have personally built out, does incredibly well. I'm seeing the hero used a lot. I know D2 and a couple other players built Taylene out in the entirety. Utility-wise, super effective because of the healing and the damage that she's putting out. Now, OG, or the original version of Shamira, again, super strong in a ton of different game modes. Carrying in the campaign, carrying in a lot of boss damage, works incredibly well being built out. Rowan as a support with the energy potion, absolutely love it. Rosaline in here to allow the double ults, whether it be Shamira, whether it be the Awakened version of Solus. There are a lot of ones where you can double ult because of Rosaline. Adding her attack to other heroes makes a big difference. Now, Belinda in here, burst damage, the blessing ability. Couple things in here really makes her top tier. When you put in her in formations, a lot of times she does a super consistent amount of damage, but she also brings another damage dealer with her abilities, even making them stronger, which is cool. The combination of these two is an OG combination that we've seen, still does work incredibly well. Now, Sonya is one that I was very surprised, but I have seen the damage firsthand, what this hero can do within companions. It's pretty impressive in a lot of different formations, not only increasing the survivability, but being able to really do a considerable amount of damage. Then we have Leica, another one as a debuffer in here, and also the haste buff makes a really big difference. Then we have the Awakened version of Athalia. Overall, being able to target one specific target, Athalia does an incredible amount of damage in a very short amount of time. Now, the thing with all of our Celestials and our Hypos, they are ultra expensive in campaign. I've been playing the game and I just picked up 121 days of rewards, and I have the original version of Taylene up to Mythic at this point. We did get one copy of the Twins, but overall, that is all I have built in months of playing this game. Now, Damon is another one, very strong copy, very strong carry within the campaign. Works incredibly well. Mortis as a buffer, again, works phenomenally well. Now, we have Albedo in here. Albedo, you want to get up to Mythic, you want to build up, and really Mythic, getting that signature item built up a little bit is the effectiveness of Albedo. If you are not running our dimensional heroes, so if you do not have Sheltier, there's no reason to get Albedo. If you're running Ainz Albedo do go together pretty well, but overall, Ainz is being used in a few places within Companions, but not in a really ton of places, not effective in a ton of places. Now, Audrey is another one where we are seeing a ton of damage out of this hero, and the ability to PvP is off the charts, being able to target one specific hero, but overall damage with Audrey is very, very high. Then we have, of course, Silas in here as the immunity buffer, as a builder, really as a buffer, but with the immunity and with the healing capacity, works incredibly well. Getting into this S tier, we do have Screg in here. Again, invade, being able to push enemies back, being able to ult very fast, works incredibly well. Crescio is one that does a lot of damage as a single target hero, effective in a lot of different game modes. Ainz, of course, with a really big burst, with a really big campaign formations, works incredibly well. Most of the other places, boss fights, we start seeing the cooldown. So after so many ults, it actually has to wait for him to ult. There's actually a built-in cooldown. If there wasn't, he'd put out way more damage. Now, Grez, of course, with the minions, having him built and being able to buff up minions. Nevi is, of course, the one that buffs the majority of the minions. Mahira is being used still in a lot of different formations. Still seeing campaign formations, also seeing a lot of players run her within boss modes. We have Iran in here to pull them together. Now, I do have Iran fully built up 5 stars. I don't see a lot of survivability with him. I see him usually die out pretty quick, but again, there are a few game modes does incredibly well. Hodgkin as a buffer and as also crowd control works incredibly well. Tassie, the exact same. If you remember old school Tassie from the classic version, worked incredibly well in nerfing essentially the attack and also banishing targets. Works very, very well in companions as well. Looking at our A tier, we do have Desira in here. Again, thinking of the immunity, thinking of the ability does require a little bit of a build out, which is the same and true with Salakai. Having Salakai built out a little bit will work incredibly well. Then we have Pharrell. So Pharrell, one of the newer heroes that we see to companions, again, falling in the A tier. Now, damage-wise, Pharrell doesn't really do that. But when it comes to crowd control, energy disintegration, that is absolutely where Pharrell does shine, and we see it true here. Now, Oku is another one, defensive-wise, tanking-wise, didn't see much play in the classic version. Companions does pretty well with survivability, especially in the tower. Same with Thane. Now, one thing to note with Thane, now this is the original version of Thane, is Thane requires a high build-out to work exceptionally well. If you don't have the hero built out and really built out well, you're not going to see the damage that you need to out of this hero. Estrilda, pushback, and of course the buffing in there with the abilities. And then Trishia in here. So interesting enough, Trishia does a couple different things, some energy, some damage. I feel like the Trishia and the OG Baden, if they do ever release the original version of Baden, would really be kind of crazy. But because Baden is not in here, and that's the combination again that we're seeing in the classic side, not seeing a crazy amount of utility in there. Then we get into the B tier, again, thinking of Orthos and our Celestials, incredibly, incredibly hard to get. Now, looking at Nara, of course, being able to target a specific hero, being able to pull energy disintegration insta-kill works incredibly well. Tresnar, again, utility-wise, I'm seeing it some places, but not a ton. Skarath, unfortunately, we don't see the 5-pole used like we did before. Antandra requires a big build to actually get her to work well and actually have the survivability. Isabella does quite a bit of damage, but not as much as burst damage as we've seen before. Gwen, another one that I thought would do very well. Now, I did pull Gwen. I built her up quite a bit. Again, not seeing as much damage as we thought out of there. Brutus, of course, for the immunity works incredibly well. Thisu, again, another one that I thought would work incredibly well. Used in a couple different places, couple different boss fights, but overall, not seeing a crazy amount of utility. And then we do have Titus in here. And then looking at the bottom of this is the C tier. Most of these heroes are just used in really tower formations is where we're seeing them. Pippa, of course, a little bit of a teleport. Morrow has some crowd control, not a lot of damage. Burke has his traps. Now, Hendrik, of course, the immunity. Gorvo for some crowd control. And if you remember early, I did build Gorvo out, not seeing a ton of utility in there. I also built out Thorin. Again, not seeing a lot of utility in here. Lucius, Falks, a couple of these, not really big utility. Quesos, Cirrus, even looking at, Cecilia and Namisu, not seeing a lot of utility with any of these heroes at all. Now down here for the last ones, this is the point where we just put a question mark here, guys. And I know this is a tier list that was kind of shared before, but looking at the question here, when I think of whales, when I think of larger players, looking at Mizalt, looking at Khazard, looking at Zekas, even looking at Aziz, I don't know any players that have them built in the entirety, just because, again, this sheer cost, even looking at like Wukong, Twins, you could beg to differ because Twins, if you had one copy of the Twins like I do, it will work well in a lot of different formations because fundamentally the hero will still work. And then, of course, we have the second Awakened hero that we have down here, which is Taylene. Now, overall, when it comes to the Awakened version of Taylene, just because of the sheer cost, I only know and I'm aware of one player on our server that is our guild leader that does have her. I think there might be 2 or 3 in totality, but overall, looking at the sheer cost of getting the Awakened heroes and companions is kind of crazy when you look at literally just the ability to get Stargazer scrolls. You do have to buy them. You don't have an option for diamonds in companions to use them. So it is all about the purchases and all about the whaling in companions. So guys, that's going to do it for this tier list. Again, we wanted to cover this in the companion server. So let me know in the comments what you guys think. And as always, thank you guys for watching.